Good evening, Graham.
Hello, Charles.
This is Monday evening. We are meeting on the 12th of January, and welcome to our listeners, co-hosts of Two Big Egos in a Small Car. I'm Charles Hutchinson, journalist based in New York, covering obviously wider area than that, um, and also happy to say that I'm going to be doing a little bit more radio even than I've been doing. Now being invited on to do for Jonathan Cabb to contribute to his new weekend show as well as doing a slot on Yorvik Radio and on YO1 on York Mix Radio and YO1 Radio.
So, how many stations are you actually on now, Charles?
I also occasionally still contribute to Radio York. Well, technically, I contribute to four stations in York.
Four stations. My God, that's worth boasting about.
I don't want to boast about it, but I'm just honoured and flattered that I get asked to comment
Station
on
to station. That's you, Charles.
Station to Station. That was a great album from Mr. Bowie, and whose birthday has just fallen, of course, and anniversary of his death as well. God bless you, David. So, Graham, briefly introduce yourself. Shorter than last week's introduction.
Graham Chalmers, Harger Chancellor, Hull Mail, Bradford Argus, Charm Magazine, Charm Gigs, Charm Events, Vinyl Session Talks, former artistic director of Harrogate National Festival Fringe. Quite a long time
Excellent.
ago now.
Good introduction. So we spent a lot of the past month looking back at the past year. We're now going to, in part, look at the year ahead. And Graham's first suggestion is personal choices of looking forward to things, which is absolutely part of what we do because both Graham and I get to see so many concerts, shows, exhibitions, you name it, across Yorkshire.
It's all personal, Charles. We don't whiffle off about things we don't know about.
Really, I think people might be challenging that view, but that's good to specify that. Graham, do you want to start off with that?
Well, do you want to start with films?
Okay, let's go with now. This is an exciting season, of course, because we're now in the glad handing season of handing out awards. Rather
All the
alarmingly,
best films suddenly turn up for
yeah,
about
well,
two
that's
months.
what's so odd is that
Mm.
there's loads of films I've not seen yet that are being nominated, and I had the same frustration last year. I don't know what this
What
is,
happens? It's just what happens.
but why?
They may win an Oscar before we see them, Charles. It's the sort of stuff that happens.
But it didn't used to happen quite as much as it does now. So why is Britain now so out of sync with America on these films?
Well, the whole release schedule has been sort of like upended by a combination of COVID, followed by how big streaming is now in terms of distribution and
Mhm, mhm.
production of films. So it's no longer the same tidy setup it was. So you have to
No.
go with the flow because you got no
You do have to
alternative.
go with the flow, but I find it therefore means there is frustration over the awards season because I don't know whether I'm disappointed by a result when I say, well, actually, I haven't seen this film yet, so I don't know whether it's the right
Right.
verdict or
Well,
not.
let's get to it. You haven't seen Martyrs Supreme yet, have you?
I am seeing that this evening at 7 o'clock.
Excellent. Okay, I have seen it. We've talked about it. So let's move on from that, even though
Uh,
Timothy has got a Golden Globe Award.
he has got the Golden Globe Award, so I want to talk about Hamnet, as you do as well.
Mm.
I think it's going to be hard pressed already to have a more emotionally impactful film. I haven't cried as
You've got
much
to
as
bring along hankies, Charles, or have a
oh,
heart of steel
honestly,
for that film.
Graham, it is utterly shattering as an experience. And I found myself thinking,
It's more like therapy than a movie.
yeah, I obviously have reviewed Hamlet on more than one occasion. I think it is unarguably the greatest play ever written.
Mm.
And I found it being interpreted in a wholly new way. What I loved about this, and this is, I'm sorry if it's a spoiler alert, actually, frankly, I don't give a damn because we're going to have to analyze this. So you think you
But
know,
not too long, Charles, otherwise we're run out of time.
you think you know Hamlet, and you perhaps do know Hamlet. I'm sure you do. What I loved about this is it leads up. So William Shakespeare, wife Anne Hathaway, but pronounced slightly weirdly, not really sounding like Anne, but some other name that isn't Anne, and the devastating loss of their son. And
Hamnet.
it's not that's not an unfamiliarly told story from that point of view that that was the case, and there are fictionalized elements within the film. It says so, but as to a gestation of how Hamlet came about, It tells that in a fantastically original way, I think. But also, when you watch the scenes from Hamlet, and this is crucially the death scene from Hamlet, I've never, I've never wept in that way at it before. Never. I think
Oh no,
the direction of that scene, and you can give me the name of the director, Graham.
oh, Chloe Zhao,
Yeah.
who won an
So
Oscar for
I mean,
Nomadland in
I've been to the Globe Theatre. You perhaps have been to the Globe Theatre, and although Shakespeare had his own theatre at that time as well as being the Globe at that time, the way that the audience is used in the film is what maybe distinguishes from theatre. I talk about how powerful theatre is in its own right. This used the wonders of the language there, but also used the power of cinema as well, the close-ups on the faces in that scene, and the way the language is used. It is utterly shattering and heartbreaking.
it's a very smartly constructed script and a very smartly directed movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got very few characters for most of the
Mm.
film. And
Mm.
suddenly at the end, there's a long scene without the globe, and you've
Yeah.
got a whole theaters full of people and faces. So it goes from the micro then to the macro at the very
Absolutely.
death to pull the whole
Absolutely.
thing together. And
Yeah.
the film is fundamentally about four things:
Mm.
love, grief, spirituality, and art, and how all those things are linked together.
Yeah.
And the way it's thought through, I mean, it's a film with such an intelligence of structure. It's got
Mm.
an uncanny life force. It's, you know, it's got a, it's exploring the dark heart and the deep emotion behind
Mm.
Shakespeare's
Mm.
plays in a
Of
way you've
course.
never seen before.
Yeah.
And it's you get beneath the poetry of Shakespeare,
Yeah.
but you also the film itself is almost like poetry. It achieves beyond the normal film's achievement.
Mm.
It's got such a perfect tone, perfect pace. There's nothing out of place. The acting superb, the dialogue
Jesse
is
Buckley, Paul Mescal.
sparse and always on the money. The ideas are fully developed from the beginning, although they're handled so subtly. It's not a film to hit you over the head with a mallet
Mm.
and tell you what it means. The meaning comes out, and the meaning's linked to the emotion. So the emotion and the ideas are completely intertwined, and that's why it's
What?
such a big effect. The whole film is like watching tears fall in slow motion.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
One of the things I loved about it as well, Graham, is that this is the first performance ever of Hamlet. That is what it's being presented as. And it did feel like a brand new play.
Mm.
And Shakespeare, there he is, Paul Mescal playing Shakespeare, is watching his play being performed for the first time. The greatest play ever written, being performed. He wouldn't know that at the time when he wrote it, but that's its impact to us. But actually, it had a new power of a virginal play. You watch the audience reacting, the way they move their hands towards the actor playing Hamlet. And when he says, after so many words, I think it is the part with the most lines of any, the rest is silence. It had a new power to it beyond any time I've heard it before. And in that moment, I'm getting emotional now because I care so much about theatre and I care about the arts and what they mean in this rotten, bloody world we're in right now. And that's another thing about this film. You think, how are we capable of making such beauty about pain and grief? How can we do
Yeah,
all that? How can we perform it so beautifully, film it so
yeah, but
wonderfully?
times weren't any better at Shakespeare's days. Shakespeare's times were just as you know,
That's
chaotic and
Graham. That's right. You
you know.
see, that all it
Mm.
takes is you pointing out, there's me being the romantic, you being the realist, and that's fine. But I want to argue the point that I want the romantic to win out over the bloody realistic that is ruining the world right now. There has to be a
Yeah,
greater
but
reason for why art is there and why art sustains. And it is
yeah,
to lead us to thinking there's a better way to be.
yeah, but Hamnet is about believing all that, but still being realistic. That's the greatness of Hamnet is the ideas behind it all.
Yeah,
The reality and the romance are completely intertwined as well as
they
the
are. They
emotion
are.
and the
No,
ideas.
absolutely, Graham.
So
That
it's
is
more
true.
believable. The whole thing's believable because of that. It's a
Yeah.
three-dimensional story with
Yes.
three-dimensional ideas,
Mm.
directed absolutely perfectly and played to perfection by Paul Mescal,
Yeah.
Jesse Buckley, and Emily Watson.
Mm.
And the kid who plays the young Hamnet, the young son who
Noah,
tragically
Noah
dies,
Jupe, I think his
he's
name
got
is. Yeah.
he's got an unforgettable face. As soon as you see him on screen,
Yeah.
you feel sorry for him before anything's actually happened. It's like
Yeah.
you want to be his parents straight away. He's a
Mm,
fantastic bit of casting for the kid.
mm,
It's just
mm.
an amazing film. The only I think it's the best film it's made for years. It's one of the few films that I can't find any fault with made in the last 5 years. That's how
Absolutely.
great it is. The
I
one thing I
agree.
would say is it's a
Go,
bit
go.
of a one-tone film. You know, if it's not epic, it doesn't go off in tangents. It sticks to its guns from start to finish, which makes it great. But also, it's one tone. I'm not sure how a TV audience you couldn't watch this, you know, anyway for fun. It makes A Man for All Seasons with Paul Scofield, which won the Oscars in 1967, look like a comedy.
Yes, I can see that, but I think the tone, the gravity of it all. I mean, even details like the dirty fingernails, the face has never been quite clean. It
Mm.
had that realism of its age.
It had such patience because having established the mood and the ideas, the way it unfolded at the end in the last 20 minutes, half an hour,
Mm,
the director and the script and the actors, they squeezed every last piece of juice out of that film, not in a loud way or a
no.
vulgar way, in a very subtle way. They squeezed that film dry. There wasn't anything left. It was all there on the table by the time
And,
the credits went up.
and that was typified in Paul Mescal's performance.
Mm.
Just
Yeah, he was fantastic.
subtle shifts within. There's the moment where the line is not being said right by the original actor playing Hamlet, and his voice change. Paul Mescal's voice changes in that moment, and he matures in
Mm.
that moment before us, and and
Mm.
and just a little subtle detail. Um,
Mm.
in its own way, a different tone of acting to that of Jessie Buckley, which is that the wilder woman, the woman of the woods characterization, who is more intense in her own way throughout. But I thought the balance between the two of them was so well
I'm
judged.
not normally a Jessie Buckley fan, but she's absolutely right for the role.
Mm,
And to have Paul Mescal there, you had to have a similarly big actor
yeah.
who's got a big character, and that's Jessie Buckley. So they were perfectly matched. There was
Mm,
like a even battle between the two as an acting contest. They're both
yeah,
huge performances.
absolutely. So that, as it stands, Graham, it's going to be living in the memory through the year. Of course, it's sort of come out at the beginning of the year and is in the award seasons, thankfully, for actually now, rather than being forgotten about by the end of the year and suddenly having to be in next year's award. So I think it's good that it's actually in this year's rewards and it's fresh in the mind in order to make an impact on the awards. And let's hope that that continues to be the case. Um,
Yeah, we should look at just very briefly
yeah,
speed through a few other films that are coming up that we want to
yeah.
see. That's what I think we should do.
Well, okay, let's give a recommendation. This actually you can see on Channel 4. I went to the cinema to see it. This is Bowie, The Final Act. And this is obviously coinciding with the 10th anniversary of David Bowie's death and also with the 10th anniversary of his last album, Black Star, and also, of course, with his birthday. And this is put together, it does span most of the career of David Bowie, but it focuses on certain times, capturing the shifts in what he did, the changes that he made, why he made them, the risk taking that he took, and even, I mean, the Tin Machine, which probably has never been focused on before in a film and is largely seen as a failure, but it goes into depth, including with other members of the band, as to why David Bowie did this. He wanted to break away from the Cirrus Moonlight success of that. He didn't feel fulfilled by it. What did
It's
he do?
typical Bowie.
He
Bowie
wanted to
wanted to
join a
be
band. He
successful.
wanted to join a plain
Yeah,
band.
but Bowie wanted to be successful from the very beginning. He did not
Yes.
like being a failure. He wanted to
No.
be a pop star. But every time he got to be a pop star, he then had to do something to disrupt that because
Yeah.
he didn't like being stuck being a pop
Did the
star.
same as Ziggy Stardust. Ziggy Stardust wrote him off. Did that with
Mm.
Cirrus Moonlight tour, and with that. So he did things that couldn't be predicted. It did show a man who also, I don't want to say used people, but they had their use, they served their time with him, and he moved on. But as
Yeah,
he
but
also
that's all
great,
musicians. The film
yeah,
didn't tell you all bands, all musicians drop people like a stone, sometimes
yes,
without even telling them that they've been
yes,
dropped. It's just a musician's thing. If musicians were the sort of people who wanted a 9 to 5 job where you had an HR department and you were very polite about stuff, they wouldn't become musicians. They're the
No.
sort of people who don't want to do that.
No.
So they go with their gut. And if the gut says, I'm not enjoying this anymore, they don't think, oh, logically, I should actually still have this person in the band. They just go,
Mm.
oh, bye. So Bowie was no different to most other
No.
musicians, I don't think, in that regard.
The most powerful moment in the film, I think, is when the journalist from,
John Wilde.
yeah, from Melody Maker reads out his review and of the second Tin Machine album, which he'd only been given a matter of minutes, well, half a day or whatever. I think he had to get maybe he had a day to listen to it and had to then knock out the review. And he wrote an incredibly dismissive piece. And he reads
It
it,
was
and he's openly
vitriolic.
he's
It was
shocked. He's
insulting
shocked.
in the extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm, I think it's as well.
He looked crestfallen. John Wilde, when he actually had to read his own
Yes,
review,
yeah,
looked absolutely upset that he'd actually written that. He looked
yeah.
really bad. You
I mean,
could tell he felt bad
what
about
it
it.
tells you is that journalism is in the moment.
Yeah, it also tells you in those days the music press in Britain were so powerful, and they were
Mm,
such a great bunch of writers
mm,
that they would occasionally get really carried away with their
yeah,
own power and their own
yeah,
intelligence. And they
absolutely.
also, at least they took it seriously. At least they took Bowie's own high standards seriously.
Mm,
They didn't give everything 4 stars or five
no,
stars, no
no,
matter what it was like. So,
which is happening all
you
the
know,
time
I
now.
say John's review was a disgrace, but I'm glad he had the power to do that.
Yeah, yeah, fair point. So, Graham, films coming up that soon for that you're looking forward to. I mean, I
Well,
guess there's some
you've
of the
got
Oscar
obviously
nominations that we've
Marty
not seen.
Supreme, the best ping pong film ever.
Yeah, I remember.
And the joke at the
Yes.
Golden Globes was that Timothy Chalamet was so into the role that he sacrificed everything for it, and he lost 60 ounces to play the role. That was the joke.
He's already he's so
Well,
skinny
he's so
already.
skinny he couldn't lose more than 60 ounces anyway.
No,
But so you're going to see Marty Supreme. You've also got Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. That's not turning up with Matt Damon. That's not turning up till the summer though. And
no,
I've never liked Homer and the Iliad and
no.
Greek Roman stuff that much. But Christopher Nolan doesn't make bad films. So I'm thinking like The Odyssey must be good because it's Christopher Nolan. So I'm looking forward to that.
There's already on
How about you?
Netflix a TV series called Chaos, isn't there? Which is again going back to I think Greek gods. And
Yeah, I'm really not into Greek gods.
no, but they've influenced
I'm
all
not.
literature. They've influenced all literature ever
Well,
since.
you're right. They're a constant font of storylines, just like the Bible is. I don't like Wild God. I don't like Nick Cave being God. I don't. Yeah, but
No,
anyway,
that's fair
I,
enough.
I hope I hope that's good. I'm also looking forward to Wuthering Heights on Valentine's Day.
Yes,
Emerald
no.
Fennell's follow up to the
I mean, I
fantastic
think this. I
Saltburn.
mean, it's one of those things you think. Well, should there be purity in this? Do you have a right as an artist to use the same title, but to essentially just do whatever you want with it? Do you have that permission? Because Wuthering Heights has been made that often.
Of course you do. The only thing that matters is if the film is good. If the film is good or brilliant, it justifies everything. And Baz Luhrmann made that fantastic modern version with a young Leonardo DiCaprio a long time ago of Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And that was, that took gross liberties with
Yes.
Shakespeare. But it was a great film. So I'd rather see a great film that didn't stick to the book or the play than a mediocre film which stuck to the play or the book.
That's fair enough. I can see that, and I mean, from the trailers, instant reaction. Margot Robbie doesn't look like my idea of who Catherine Earnshaw looks like, but give it a chance.
Also, Margot's
Jacob
usually very
Elordi's
good.
Yorkshire accent is about as convincing as Dick Van Dyke's, London accent.
Yeah, I don't think we're going for realism in this version, though. It's a bit like, a Ken Russell film. You don't expect realism from dear old Ken Russell years ago. And I don't think this film
So,
isn't going
what's
for
her
the realism.
primary role? Is it to shock? I mean, in Sandburn, a lot
No,
of it was to shock.
it's to create a reaction in the audience. It's to make the script come alive. It's to make the film be current and contemporary and affect modern thinking people. It's not about recreating the past. The director Saltburn want to shock you in the now.
Yes, even though setting the story in the past, which is exactly the same again with this.
Mm. Yeah, but
So
it's not
yeah,
really set in the past. It's very modern, really.
period costumes, Graham.
Yeah, that's just a veneer. It's a veneer.
Okay, it's a veneer. Yeah, we'll see if it's bad, then it becomes venereal disease, but we'll see how it is.
That's one of the worst ever gags, Charles.
Okay, I want to see Sentimental Value,
Oh yeah,
which is sort of,
Skarsgård.
yeah,
Mm.
the father Skarsgård,
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård,
Mm-hmm.
which is Joachim Trier's entertaining drama, Norwegian filmmaker, of course, and so could be interesting. Showbiz family, and it's again about someone whose career is fading, which would apply to the role recently played um, by George Clooney, of course, of a movie star on the fade. So it's interesting we've got another one of those. There is something a bit self-indulgent about projects like this potentially, but we're so used to now being in the company of stars that this is part of the story that is
Well,
logical to use in films. So I'm interested
at
to
the
see.
Golden Globes, one of the presenters joked that the last time that George Clooney won a Golden Globe, Timothy
Mm.
Chalamet was only 3 years old.
Yes. So that anyway, that's coming up that I am curious to see, Graham. Yeah.
That's
Now,
good. Should we move on to gigs? Any gigs you've got coming up, Charles?
right. Well, okay. So it'd be rather boring to say that I'm looking forward to going to see James again, but I am. James are playing in Leeds at it's now got the longer title, the First Direct Bank Arena. Quite why they had to add the word bank, I don't know.
Dear, oh
I don't think
dear.
it's referring to banks of seating, but anyway, that's what it's now called, which is actually more of an incentive to not give it anything other than the title Leeds Arena. But there we go. They're playing there on
Exactly.
April the 4th. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because they frankly have been a band that just continues to improve ever and ever. And I know I see them regularly, and you might think, well, that's why on earth would you do that? But I do it because they still manage to surprise and innovate, and they, as a group of musicians, I think they just continue to bounce off each other more productively than ever. So looking forward to that. What else am I looking forward to with the gigs? I'm flicking through the book here. We've got what do you reckon to the season that's at the Scarborough Open Air Theatre? I mean, big names coming, but are we excited?
Which names?
Right, I'm going to try and find that. I'll tell you who I am looking forward to. Much sooner than that, though. Catherine Williams, one of my very favourite, sort of, I suppose, originally would be considered a folk artist, but she's always been able to branch out beyond that. This is the latest tour, Mystery Park, which is the album that came out last year, and she's opening the tour 20th of February at Pocklington Arts Centre. I'm just seeing if there's anywhere else you can see her in Yorkshire. No, that's your one chance to go to the Pocklington Arts Centre. Her special guest is going to be Matt Dayton, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Who else am I looking forward to? Well, I
Well,
haven't
I'm
got
looking
stand up.
forward to a London band called Voca Gentle.
Oh,
They're a
who are they?
young
Like a
trio
gentle
from
band.
London. Voca Gentle, two
Hmm.
words, and they do sort of psychedelic
Yeah,
pop rock, but it's not really sort of like Betty in the 1960s too much. It's a bit more like Tim and Pela before they became completely dancey. And they're playing Oporto, very small but great venue in Leeds on February 25th. So that'll be great because you'll be seeing this new young band
yeah,
playing good music really up front and close.
yeah. I haven't yet organised tickets, but I think I would like to go and see Gorillas.
Yeah, yeah,
A
that'll be
long
good.
time since I've seen them. Gosh, a long time. Anyway, they're playing at the First Direct Bank Arena on the 25th. So sort of have to keep plugging the name in such detail. So that's one for the diary. Um, I'm not necessarily going to go and see Rick Astley, but you never know. I've never seen him.
Rick Astley. Hmm.
Well, there you are. You see,
Yeah.
maybe not, but anyway, he's
He,
coming. He's coming there. So that's one that I'm curious
he
about.
sang Smith songs pretty well. If he'd stuck to that, I'd be quite happy.
Yeah, okay, I can see that, Graham. That's fair enough. Who else we got that's coming up? I
Well, I'm off
won't
to
be
see the
going to
Fire
I
Doors.
won't be going to the
I'm off to see the
K-pop All
Fire
Stars.
Doors.
I'm not going to the
What's that?
K-pop All Stars at the Grand. I'm not going to the K-pop All Stars at the Grand Opera House. That's
No,
what.
no, good grief. You know,
I'm not
is that
going to that
Kellogg's
one.
pop?
That's the.
Bit,
So
it's a
just
bit sort of crunchy. It doesn't fill you up.
so the two outdoor gigs at the York live at York Museum Gardens run by Future Sound. The two that have been confirmed so far: Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark,
If they played their 1970s and 80s stuff, fine.
which I'm sure they will, because on the bill as well are China Crisis. They are on that bill too.
Much
Um,
underrated China Crisis. Great, great pop band in the
and
1980s.
also on the bill, Heaven 17.
Yeah, pretty good.
And then the following night, and I've never seen Self Esteem, Rebecca, I can never remember her second
Mm.
name, Taylor, maybe Rebecca Lucy Taylor, I think. So I did see her first band, Cinema.
Oh yeah, was it Slow Club? The Slow Club.
Yes, that's it, Slow Club.
Yeah. Mm.
But this is that she's playing under her title Self Esteem and supporting two acts I've never heard of, Moonchild Sanley and Joshua Idaliu, I think it is, or Idaliu, and that's the second night. Now there may well yet be another. I guess there may be a third
Yeah.
night. Last year there was two.
Self-Esteem's a great performer, but I don't like her music that much.
Would you go and see Michael Bublé?
Uh, if he was just doing Frank Sinatra's best songs and nothing else, yeah.
Or
But
are
if he was
you more
doing like
likely?
any
Are you
old
more
middle of the
likely to
road
go and see
crooning, no.
Billy Ocean, supported by Marty Pellow?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. Right. What else is
I'm
coming
going
up?
to see the Fire Doors at Willen Mill, Old Willen Mill in Farsley near Leeds,
Hmm.
February 22nd, which is basically the Field Music Boys, David and Peter Bruce,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing their own Doors tribute, which supposedly they're absolutely unexpectedly brilliant at, which you
Is
might not
this a
have
brand new?
predicted.
Is this something brand new then, Graham? That,
Well, they started doing it a bit last year,
oh, okay.
basically to raise money, and they also love the Doors, who are
Yeah.
still a much underrated
And so
band.
where
I
are you
love
going to
the
see
Doors.
that? Where are you going to see
The
that?
old Woolen
Oh,
Mill
the
at
one at
Farsley.
Farsley. The love, wonderful.
Yeah. Mm.
Now, I think I'm going to try and go to see James Taylor. This is James Taylor's playing at Scarborough Open Air Theatre, and it could well be. I wouldn't be surprised if it would be the last tour, possibly. I mean, it hasn't said that it is, but that's an evening with James Taylor and his all-star band. So I kind of feel it probably is a. I've
That
never
could be
seen
quite
James Taylor.
interesting.
Never seen James Taylor. I kind of feel I ought to go.
Naravan. Hmm.
Alex James's Brit Pop Classical. What do you reckon to that?
Definitely not. No.
Right. Okay. Two nights of who do you think's got two nights at Scarborough Open Air Theatre? The only act who has got two nights.
Is it the sole remaining Chuckle Brother?
It is not. It is two nights of
Okay.
Teddy Swims. Teddy Swims and
Hmm.
Teddy Swims again.
Really? Oh dear.
He's got two nights there.
Oh, freestyle.
The Streets are playing Scarborough Open Air Theatre.
Streets are they're not too my cup of tea, but they're rather good. The
So
Streets.
he's going to play most famous album.
Oh yeah, the first one. Not a Grand Don't Come for Free. The
I think
Pirate
he might be
Material.
doing. I think he might be
Original
doing
Pirate
Random
Material.
Come for Free. He's whatever the one about the tears and that one. I think he might be doing that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Would you go and
No,
see?
he's pretty damn good.
Would you go and see the Sex Pistols playing with Frank Carter?
I'm almost tempted because I heard Frank's good at it.
Ah, don't tell John Lydon that; he'd be furious.
John Lydon's coming to Harrogate Theatre on a talking tour in
When?
October this year.
Oh, I've got to go and see that. That's a good one.
Mm.
Now, Holly Johnson, would you go and see him at Scarborough Open Air Theatre?
No, not particularly. No,
Frankie says
great
no.
voice, but I
Frankie
wouldn't
says
go.
no. Okay, so that's your Scarborough season. I'll tell you what
I
I
may
am.
be going to see. I may be going to see a comedian, Tim Key, at Leeds City Varieties in
So
April. Maybe.
Tim Key, as in
Oh,
the
the
Ballad
Ballad at Wallace Island.
of. When's
Yeah,
he playing for City Varieties?
yeah, in April. Yeah, he's been touring his Loganberry show
Oh
about his own
yes,
midlife
yes.
crisis for about the last year. I think he did it at Edinburgh.
I
So he's
might
coming to
chase up
Leeds
the
in
ticket for
April.
that through Ian
Yeah,
Syme. That
yeah.
sounds
So I
interesting.
may be going to that.
One recommendation, Graham, will be Northern Ballet's premiere this year of Gentleman Jack. So we've had Gentleman
Oh
Jack,
yeah, yeah.
obviously
Sounds good.
TV series, and this is the world premiere. It's going to be playing various different places, of course. But I think I'm struggling to remember the first chance to see it, but I think certainly playing Leeds Grand, and may not have the dates to hand, but that promises, I think, to be really interesting. I mean, it's obviously suited the television series, although actually after the second series it got pulled and didn't get continued. But I think as a
Well, the
piece
second
celebrating,
series changed direction radically. It was
yes,
a
it
really
did,
fantastic first series,
it did.
astoundingly good, and the
Yeah.
second series I didn't like so much.
I mean, sometimes you get these misjudgments.
Mm-mm. Well, in the search to do something different to the first series, you can sometimes lose everything that made the first series good.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm pretty well. I'm really really looking forward to that. I think this promises to be their most interesting work for quite a while. So looking out for that.
Mm.
Yeah, I've now got the dates for the Leeds run, which is Leeds Grand Theatre. March starts March 7th to March 14th. Sheffield Lyceum Theatre, March the 31st to April the 4th. Bradford Alhambra, September the 3rd to the 5th. So plenty of
Mm,
opportunities to see that
mm.
around here. And Graham, a really strong start, obviously strong start to the year at the Grand Opera House in York, kicking off next week with The Woman in Black.
Oh
But
yeah,
we
Daniel
may
Radcliffe
actually
was
go back
involved
to
with that
talking
one.
about the upcoming season at the Grand Opera House, because
Mm.
I think it's their strongest season of work in a long time, and I'd quite like to sort of focus in on that. Just the last one to mention of what I'm looking forward to. John Doyle was the artistic director of York Theatre Royal 1993 to 1997. Went on to really make Regent's Open Air Theatre a really outstanding project. He's known for actor musician productions. What he's doing is going to be doing The Secret Garden, the musical, which has been a hit on Broadway, but he's doing his version of it
Mm.
with an actor
All
musician
right.
cast. And that is going to be playing at the York Theatre Royal. The dates for that to look out for March the 17th to April the 4th. So that is really exciting that John is coming back to the Theatre Royal after all these years, especially to do that production. It really should be well worth seeing, I think.
I never liked The Secret Garden as a book or a film. It's always
I
found it a bit
think
dreary.
I think it can. I think it has potential again to do magical things with it as a theatre piece.
Mm,
You've got the potency of song within that, and the mystery of a garden, and the story,
mm.
obviously, of connection and family and wartime loneliness and all that. So lots in there to, I think, make a decent theatrical piece. Um,
Mm.
can I briefly mention, Graham? I want to just congratulate you on your judgment. Last. I went to see the Turner Prize, and you can still see it until
Oh yeah,
February the 22nd, 2026, at the wonderful Cartwright Hall. What a beautiful building that is
in
in
Bradford.
Brentford. And the judges got it wrong. I'm absolutely bewildered.
Yeah, just a little
I,
bit.
I do not know. Zadie Czar's work, that room with a golden floor, it's one of the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
extraordinary experiences to put yourself in. Everything
yeah.
about, we talked about how Hamnet is a perfect film.
Mm.
Everything about Zadie Czar's work says this is the best artwork in
Yeah.
the exhibitions. It's outstanding. It's beautiful. It's haunting. It uses the space beautifully. Each artist has got a room to themselves as well as an
It's also
introductory
it's
area.
also psychedelic in a very warm,
Absolutely.
non-threatening way. So
Absolutely.
it's sort of spiritual, but it's entirely positive
Yeah.
without telling you that.
Whereas Mohammed Sami's
Nothing
work,
nothing is stated. It's up to you to just luxuriate in the
absolutely.
surroundings.
I mean,
It's
Mohammed
just
Sami's
fantastic.
work, nothing was overstated in that either, but that was work about, I mean, much more damaging and disturbing, but very powerful again. I cannot understand for the life of me how doing some swirls and putting some tape round an object in different colors is worthy of winning the Turner Prize. I can't
If
work
it'd
it
never
out.
been done before, if you'd never seen that somewhere else, but that sort of stuff's been going on for at least 20, 30 years.
Graham,
That's what's a
Graham,
shocking thing. It wasn't even new.
go to a school and see them do an art project where everyone takes part in it. That's what you'd
Mm.
end up with. And that's not saying, oh, a child could have done this artwork. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you would
I know,
see a
you know,
group project in a school being like that. I do not see how that work was justified
it,
in winning.
it, it, it wasn't bad art. It was because it was a good version of that sort of thing. I just don't think that sort of thing deserved to win the prize.
Was it? Absolutely, it doesn't. It did not, for me, do anything. Not one piece was different from another. I don't get the power of repetition in just endless swirls and then an endless wrapping rounds. Didn't
Right,
see
telling
any.
Andy
I
Warhol
didn't
that.
see any progression in that work at all. A hugely disappointing decision.
Yeah, I
I,
agree entirely.
anyway,
Yeah.
I was left speechless by that. Not speechless. I've talked about it for
Mm.
3 minutes now.
Obviously not speechless, Charles. That'd be
I've
impossible.
just corrected myself on that. Anyway, Graham, last point as we're into our last minute.
Yeah, there's a U2 album supposedly coming up. The first one for years, the first original album for years.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure I'm looking forward to it because by Songs of Experience in 2017,
yeah,
they were sort of clutching at straws
they
because
were.
U2 need to have a new idea.
They
U2
do.
have always been good when they've done a new idea. And as soon as they've run out of steam on that idea, they then struggle to find a new idea and have a bit of a malaise. And they've been in a malaise now for a while.
Because I mean,
And
what they've done,
hope
they've sort of rediscovered their old songs, which they've done in less
that's
powerful
always a
versions.
sign that you're going backwards when you
Correct,
actually look backwards.
correct. And
So
then Bono's done that He's done his book, obviously, but he's also then done a show based around the book, and again
Yeah, all
reinterpreting the
looking
songs in a
back.
different way. So all looking back.
U2's terrible nostalgia. U2 were always a forward-facing band in every
Mm-hmm.
sense of the word.
Well, the pressure's on. Let's see whether they can still engage us and be for us too, and not just for just them.
Well, not just existing because they exist. That's the point they've got to. We
Yeah,
exist because we exist.
a Coldplay at that point.
Coldplay are smarter and more flexible with modern sounds. U2 are a rock band. Coldplay stopped being a rock band a long time back.
They did. They did. They did.
You've been listening to the podcast Two Big Egos in a Small Car. Your hosts were Graham Chalmers and Charles Hutchinson. This was a Baltic sub-production.